Okay, today I'm going out with Matthew Palmer. We're going to do some work on the CMAP reveal, which is a chart that CMAP's brought out with relief shading. I've been using it quite a while now, but I know Matthew's quite excited to come down and see it in action. You don't necessarily need a sounder with this chart. It's absolutely fantastic. The outline of the wreck is there, and if you want to discover new ground like reefs, drop-offs, rocky areas, it's absolutely fantastic. Now what I do is I get my reference points from a diver's site, so that normally gives me around about the centre of the wreck, and then what I do is I mark that, and then I'll do like a zigzag across the wreck, and then every time the wreck comes up on the sounder I'll put a selection of dots in, and then that will give me the outline of the wreck. But I'm pretty good at marking wrecks out, but as you can see from this here, if you look where I've marked this out here, this is where I thought the wreck was. When I actually put the map on, you can see how much of this area I've missed. This is on my other plotter, this is just CMAP reveal without any markers at all, and I believe that's the actual chart marker there. But normally the tide will run, that's my little tide flow there, flood and ebb, that's the way the tide will run if it's north up. So I've drifted across this wreck, which I thought was the area that I wanted to go to, but as you can see, look how much I've missed. This is the area we're going to go to today.
So about 200 foot away from it now.
As you can see, we're right on the corner of the wreck, and you can see it on the downscan imaging coming up quite prominent. Going to move on to the wreck a little bit more and see it coming up. But as you can see with this particular wreck, it's like one boat laying across another, and when I had this marked out, I had it just this small area here. We're going to go over these banks now. You can see these coming up. And you can see the banks there. See, as we're coming up onto this one. We're just coming over it now. The actual mapping is spot on, you can see that on the sonar. As I say, it's quite rough out here today. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some other areas now. Now looking at this reef, I've found this gully here. I don't know if you can see that. This looks like it'll hold fish in here. Just look at this bank here. We call this a 7 mile bank. You can see there's actually mine marks here, but this is the actual wreck here. It's only small, but you can see it laying here, and there's another one along here a little bit further. The Donna Isabella. Look at this here. Look at the detail on this wreck here. This isn't one that I've actually got marked out. This is a marker that actually comes on CMAP reveal. But just look at the detail there. It's absolutely amazing. But that doesn't actually lay in the tide, but you could quite easily get onto that one. I expect that should hold some congers on there. Look at this area here on CMAP Reveal. That just screams fish. This looks like a drop off here and like a sandy bank area there. That's somewhere where I think I should try. This is another wreck I fish quite often. I've got it down, I don't know if it's actually called that, but this is ideal for fishing for congers, and you can see that's the actual map coordinate for it, and that's where I've got my mark there. But I haven't marked this one out because since I've had this chart I don't need to. This holds a lot of congers, it doesn't really hold many pollock or things like that, but it's an ideal wreck for me to go out. But I haven't had a conger on this one over 40 pounds, but it's another example of this CMAP Reveal. The whole of that outline you can see. You don't even need a sounder, as I said, depending on if it's flooding down here or ebbing up there, and depending what way the wind is pushing you, you anchor yourself up and you can see. I mean, I do use a sounder as well, but to be honest with you, you don't need it with this chart. It's absolutely fantastic. This area here, it's a deep hole. I call it the wall here, and along this bank here, this drops off to 235 feet. There's loads and loads of good areas around here, and you can see it on here. This particular mark here this is a friend's mark, and until I got this chart I didn't realise. I thought, well, what is it there? And you can see there's like a deep gully there. If I try and zoom in a little bit on that, you can see that area there. That's a hole there, and that's where the congers seem to lay. You'll get big cod, and there's also turbot and that around there, and this is the mark there. This is another view of the wall, and as I said, there's a ledge, and you're best to fish it on the ebb tide, so you're up here, so your anchor here, and then you let your boat drift back. And what it is, all the bait fish and all of the dead fish and whatever falls over this, drops down. There's a 235 foot drop, and that's where the congers and the big cod and that will lay. This is an absolute game changer, this map. I'd never be able to see that. And if you look on here, this is where I've got it marked out, and you can actually see, I call it the wall, and I've got a little hotspot mark there. But anywhere around this area here is fantastic. This is the area here where I took Matthew. There's a wreck here, and we drifted over that, but all down this side here are turbot banks. And if you can see my marks here down the left hand corner, these were my turbot marks. This is where I thought the ground was, here where these red arrows are. That's what I thought. Until I got this chart, I didn't realise that all of this area here are turbot banks. And if you look at this is what I use for my tide. There's my flood and there's my ebb. That's on a north up chart, so the tide runs this way, and as you can see, those banks are actually laying in the tide. So if you get on a ebb tide up here, you should, wind with tide, drift all the way down these banks. And when I went over those banks, I put my sounder on, and the sounder was rising up and rising down as we were coming over the banks. It's absolutely fantastic. This chart is an absolute game changer. So the setup that I'm using, I've got two HDS live units here. One I normally use for my sounder, so I'll have my sounder set up like this. So that's my normal sounder, my side scan and down scan. And on this plotter I have just my chart normally. And then if we go out onto the deck, so on the deck I've got a HDS 12 unit. Right, to set up your CMAP Reveal, obviously it's installed. I'm in the marina, this is my berth here, there's my boat there. So I go to more options, so chart options. So this is how I've got my chart set up, chart options. So I have my photo overlay on full, my photo transparency on maximum. I don't have the high resolution on chart. I'll be honest, since I've started using CMAP Reveal, it's totally changed the way that I fish. It's an absolute game changer. The ground that I can see, and before I start fishing with the reefs and the drop-offs and other areas, is absolutely fantastic. And to be honest with you, you don't really need to have a sounder. You've got the actual wreck marked out, as you can see here. I'll be honest with you, it's an absolute game changer for modern day fishing. I took Matthew Palmer out from CMAP, and he wanted to see his chart in action, and I'll be honest with you, I think he was amazed. I've been using this for 15 months, and like I say, it is an absolute game changer to modern day fishing.